What if I told you that a single word saved a country from civil war? A word that isn't just a philosophy, but a political strategy that prioritized forgiveness over revenge when the entire world expected a bloodbath. And what if I told you that in this same country, the word now does not mean immediately? In fact, if someone says they will do it now, you might wait forever. But if they say now, you're safe. Welcome to the Hidden Rulebook of South Africa. In episode 4, we are decoding the vibe. We aren't looking at laws written in Parliament. We're looking at the laws written in the streets, the backyards, and the weddings. You'll discover why it is culturally forbidden to touch another man's fire at a barbecue, and why that barbecue was rebranded by a marketing genius to unite a divided nation. You'll learn the silent hand signal language used by millions of commuters every day, a code so complex it has been documented by anthropologists as the country's 12th official language. And we will dive into the ancient, controversial, and expensive negotiation of Lobola, where a groom must pay his future in-laws in cows or cash before he can say, "I do." This is the story of a culture where time is flexible, relationships are everything, and a single proverb defines existence. This is part 4. Let's start with the operating system of the South African soul. It's a word you have probably heard, maybe even used as a computer software name, but you likely don't know its true power. Ubuntu. It comes from the Nguni proverb, Umuntu, Ngamtu, Gabantu. It translates roughly to, a person is a person through other people. Or more beautifully, I am because we are. In Western philosophy, René Descartes famously said, I think, therefore I am. It's individualistic. It centers existence on the self. Ubuntu flips that table. It says your existence is defined solely by your connection to the community. You cannot be fully human alone. If you are rich and your neighbor is starving, you are not successful. You are actually less human because you have broken the bond of community. This sounds like a nice hippie sentiment, right? Wrong. In the 1990s, this philosophy became a hard-nosed political weapon. When apartheid ended, the country was a powder keg. Decades of torture, murder, and segregation demanded justice. The natural human reaction would be Nuremberg-style trials, punish the guilty, hang the murderers. But Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Desmond Tutu knew that would tear the country apart. So they enshrined Ubuntu into the interim constitution. They used it to justify the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Instead of retributive justice, punishment, they chose restorative justice, healing. Tutu argued that because we are all connected, oppressing others actually dehumanizes the oppressor. By forgiving, the victim reclaims their own humanity. Ubuntu wasn't just a vibe, it was the spiritual glue that kept the nation from exploding. But if Ubuntu is the spiritual glue, there is a physical ritual that holds it all together. It's called the braai. Do not call it a barbecue. A barbecue is an event where you cook burgers. A braai is a sacrament. It is the only social activity that cuts across every single race and class in South Africa. Whether you're in a township or a gated estate, the smell of wood smoke and searing meat is the universal signal for community. The word comes from the Dutch braden, to roast, but the practice is indigenous. But here's the secret. The braai has rules, strict rules. Rule number 1. There is only one braai master. He, and it is usually a he, though that is changing, controls the fire. You do not touch his fire. You do not suggest moving the coals. You do not flip the meat. If you touch another man's tongs, you are essentially declaring war. The braai is so fundamental to the national identity that in 2005, a man named Jan Scannell, who literally legally changed his name to Jan Braai, launched a campaign to rebrand the official Heritage Day holiday as National Braai Day. He argued that while South Africans have different languages and histories, the one thing that unites them is the fire. Archbishop Desmond Tutu became the patron of the day, calling it a unifying force. It worked. Today, September 24th, is Braai Day. Now, let's talk about time. If you are doing business in South Africa, you need to understand that time is fluid. We have African time, which is a polychronic view of time. Relationships matter more than schedules. If you are late because you stopped to greet someone properly, that is acceptable. But the real confusion comes from the English language itself. If a South African says, "I will do it now," do not hold your breath. Now is a vague concept that means eventually, or sometime in the future, or maybe never. It is not immediate. If they want to be more specific, they will say, "I will do it just now." This is a trap. Just now means later today. It implies a delay. If you want something done immediately, you must listen for the double positive. You need now. If someone says, "I'm coming now," it means they are actually on their way. It is a linguistic quirk derived from the Afrikaans now, and it is the only way to survive the scheduling chaos of the Rainbow Nation. From time, we move to the greeting. You can't just say hi. In many African cultures, greeting is a prolonged ritual. You must ask about the person, their health, their family, their cattle. To rush a greeting is seen as deeply rude, a sign that you don't view the other person as a human being. But the physical act of the handshake, that is an art form. The African handshake is a three-step movement. Step 1, the conventional Western shake. Step 2, you slide your hands up so your thumbs interlock and point upwards. Step 3, you slide back down to the conventional shake. It happens in one fluid motion. Shake, click, shake. It takes practice. If you mess it up, you look incredibly awkward. But when you nail it, it's an instant signal of connection. There is another hand signal you need to know: the taxi sign. South Africa's public transport system is dominated by minibus taxis, thousands of white vans that zoom around the cities. They don't have scheduled stops. To hail one, you don't just wave, you have to use a specific hand signal that tells the driver where you want to go. If you point a single index finger up in the air, you are going to town, the city center. If you point a finger down to the ground, you are going local, somewhere nearby. If you want to go to Diepsloot, you put your hands together like you are praying. Why? Because the crime rate used to be so bad there that you were literally praying for your life. If you want to go to Orange Farm, you cup your hand like you are holding an orange. It is a silent, complex visual language developed entirely by the working class. It is so sophisticated that artist Susan Wolf documented it as the country's 12th official language. It is a survival code for the daily commute. Now, let's get serious. Let's talk about marriage. In the West, you buy a ring, you propose, you're done. In South Africa, you have to face the Lobola negotiations. Lobola is the bride price or bride wealth. It is the process where the groom's family pays the bride's family for the privilege of marrying her. Traditionally, this was paid in live cows. Today, in the cities, it is usually cash, but the currency is still spoken of in terms of cows. Here's the protocol. The groom cannot do the negotiating himself. He has to stay at home, biting his nails. He sends a delegation of his uncles, the Onomalya, to the bride's house. They stand at the gate. They are not allowed to enter until they are invited. They might be left standing there for hours just to show them who's boss. This is all part of the theater. To even open the negotiations, the uncles have to offer a gift called Ivulamo, the mouth opener. Traditionally, this is a bottle of high-end brandy, usually Klipdrift or Richelieu. If the bride's family accepts the bottle, the talks begin. If they reject it, the uncles go home. The negotiation is a battle of wits. The bride's family will list her attributes. She has a university degree. She is beautiful. She has good teeth. Every attribute raises the price, the number of cows. A degree might add 2 cows. A good job might add 3 cows. The uncles have to talk the price down, but she can't cook, or she has a temper. It's a tense, often humorous, high-stakes game that binds the two families together before the couple is even married. The average Lobola these days? It can range from 20,000 Rand to 100,000 Rand. That's $1,000 to $5,000, depending on the status of the families. And yes, there are apps for calculating it now, but nothing beats the uncles at the gate. The purpose isn't buying a woman. It is about proving the groom is capable of supporting her and linking the two clans in a web of mutual obligation. Once the deal is done, there is often a slaughter. This brings us to a custom that often shocks suburban neighbors: ritual slaughter. For many indigenous South African cultures, you cannot celebrate a major life event, a birth, a wedding, a coming of age, or even buying a new car without communicating with the ancestors. And the way you communicate is through blood. You buy a goat or a sheep, you bring it home, you speak to it, telling the ancestors why you were doing this, and then you slaughter it. In a rural village, this is normal. In a townhouse complex in Sandton or Cape Town, it can cause issues. There have been massive legal battles between body corporates and residents over the right to slaughter a goat on the balcony. But for the practitioner, it is non-negotiable. The bile of the animal might be smeared on the person to impart luck. The skin of the goat is turned into a wristband called an isipandla. If you walk around a corporate office in Johannesburg, you will often see a guy in an expensive Italian suit wearing a piece of raw, hairy goat skin on his wrist. He cannot take it off. It has to fall off naturally. If he cuts it, he breaks the connection to the ancestors. It is a symbol that he has undergone a ceremony. Maybe he just got married or he's becoming a man. It is a powerful visual reminder that no matter how modern or Western the city looks, the roots of tradition go deep. Speaking of roots, let's talk about death, or rather, the party after death. In Black South African township culture, a funeral is not a quiet, private affair. It is a massive community event. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of people attend. But the real cultural phenomenon happens afterwards. It's called the after-tears. The after-tears is exactly what it sounds like. After the cemetery, after the sadness, the mourners gather to drink. And it is not a somber wake, it is a party. The music is loud, the alcohol flows. It is a celebration of the life of the deceased. It is a release of the immense pressure of grief. Critics, mostly older conservatives, hate it. They call it disrespectful. They say people are just using a funeral as an excuse to get drunk. But for the youth in the townships, it is a necessary catharsis. It is a way of saying, we are still alive. It is the ultimate expression of the South African ability to find joy in the face of tragedy. Now, let's look at some social taboos. If you are invited to a South African home, there are rules. Rule number 1, if you are offered tea, take the tea, even if you don't want tea. Refusing hospitality is seen as a rejection of the relationship. Rule number 2, when you receive a gift, or even just change from a cashier, receive it with your right hand, or even better, with both hands cupped together. Using the left hand is considered unclean and disrespectful in many traditional cultures. And then there is the eye contact dance. In Western culture, looking someone in the eye is a sign of honesty. In traditional Zulu or Xhosa culture, a young person looking an elder in the eye is a challenge. It is rude. So you might find a younger person looking down while you speak to them. They aren't being shifty, they're showing you immense respect. But the most complex social interaction happens on the road. South Africa has car guards. These are men usually wearing bright yellow reflective vests who stand in parking lots. They don't work for the shopping mall, they are informal freelancers. They watch your car while you shop, and when you come back, you give them a few coins. It is a unique social contract born out of high unemployment and high crime. It is a microeconomy of trust. You don't have to pay them, but if you don't, you are breaking the unwritten rule of the streets. It is a daily acknowledgement of the wealth gap, a small redistribution of cash that happens millions of times a day across the country. Let's go back to the ancestors for a moment. We talked about the goatskin wristband, the isipandla, but there is another more painful rite of passage for Xhosa men, ulwalako, the initiation. Every year, thousands of teenage boys leave their homes to go into the bush or the mountains. They live in temporary huts. They cover their bodies in white clay. They are circumcised, traditionally, without anesthetic. They spend weeks in seclusion, being taught the secrets of manhood, respect, and responsibility by the elders. They are not allowed to speak to women during this time. When they return, they are washed clean of the white clay, wrapped in new blankets, and they are no longer boys, in Kwenkwe. They are men, in Doda. This is not a metaphor. In Xhosa society, if you haven't gone to the mountain, you are not a man. You cannot lead a family. You cannot speak in certain meetings. Even Nelson Mandela wrote about the pain and pride of his own initiation. It is a custom that has survived colonialism, apartheid, and modernity intact. It is the bedrock of Xhosa identity. And finally, we have the custom of gifting names. In African culture, a name is not just a label, it is a prophecy. A child named Nkululeko, freedom, carries the history of the struggle. A child named Dumasani, praise, is a living prayer. But during the colonial era, white masters couldn't pronounce these names, so they gave their workers English names or garden names: beauty, patience, blessing, gift, or even names like sixpence or petrol. For generations, black South Africans lived with two names: their real, deep ancestral name and their work name for the convenience of white people. Today, the custom is reclaiming the real names, but you will still meet people named Precious or Innocent. These aren't just quaint names, they are artifacts of a time when identity was split in two. They are a reminder of the resilience it took to survive in a world that refused to learn how to pronounce who you were. From the forgiveness of Ubuntu to the negotiation of Lobola, from the smoke of the Braai to the ink of the isipandla, South African customs are a blend of the ancient and the adaptive. They are tools designed to build community in a landscape that was designed to destroy it. They teach us that time is for people, not for clocks, that food tastes better when it is cooked on a fire you didn't build alone, and that sometimes the only way to move forward is to stop at the gate, offer a bottle of brandy, and respect the people who came before you. We have covered the people, the language, the food, and the customs. But what about the stories they tell in the dark, the monsters that hide under the bed? Next time, in Episode 5, we enter the world of myths and folklore. We're going to hunt the Tokoloshe, the evil dwarf that bites off toes. We'll meet the lightning bird, the vampire of the skies, and we'll find out why a ghost ship called the Flying Dutchman is doomed to sail around Cape Town forever. You do not want to miss the origin of the myths. I'll see you now. Cheers.